So I think it's about time we save this Viking. It's not going to be a restoration, it's going to be another raw build, single speed, just so it has that easy life. But at least it's going to be a bike again. I have spent hours stripping this down. I used the blowtorch so I could keep as much of the history as possible. But we've got all the paint off and it's back to the bare metal underneath. You really do get a feel for the history of this bike, how much it's been used, because there's a lot of patina under that paint. There's a lot of rust spots, and if it focuses again, there we go. It's got to be given a little bit of character to the frame all the way along. So all this will be protected underneath linseed oil. So I'm going to be doing that in a second. Again, it's just a very light coat of boiled linseed oil, I should make a point of, not just the raw. But all this is going to get protected. I am going to just have to go over the frame just lightly with some rideable, because when I was stripping it, it was raining at the time. So there was a few bit of rust staining on it that's not natural, shall we say. So I'm just going to go over that and just clean that up. And you'll be pleased to see that this dropout is welded up now. It is in one piece. I just got my friend just to quickly weld it together. I filed a little V into it, he welded it, and it should be good to go as a nice easy going single speed now. Okay, so that is about good to go. I've just rubbed it down with some very light rideable, which has just taken off a bit of the surface rust that had just formed, a little bit of the dry rust. So what's left now should be just what is imprinted in the metal. So now I'm just going to go over it with the boiled linseed oil, a very light coat of it, just to give it a bit of protection, and then I'll assemble it, and then once that coat is dry, I'll give it another coat without stepping on that. Okay, so it's literally just going to be a little bit on a rag and just wipe it over so it's a really thin coat. Ooh, that looks good already. Because if you let this bunch up, it ain't going to dry. So I'm just going to get to doing this now. Really work it around. Okay, so that's all on. It's really brought out a bit of colour in the frame now, especially around the lugs on the bottom bracket, like the brazing, the brass has really come out. Actually, can I? Down there. The colour has really come out, and there's still a bit of paint left on just in places. There's a bit of decoration, but yeah, it's really come out now, that oil, there. So with the forks, obviously the old ones were damaged. The headset did get to save, but I'm taking both the headset and the forks from a donor bike. I've sprayed them up black, so there's a bit of contrast there. I think it should work well. I did actually, if you were following on Instagram, run a poll. At the time of recording this, it was 50-50. It was up to me, I guess, to decide. I was going to do a black head tube to match the forks, and it was a choice of raw like it is or black head tube, and yeah, it was a split decision, so I've just left it raw. But yeah, I'm going to fit those. They should look good, and then we'll get the wheels on, bars, stem, handlebar, all that sort of stuff, and we'll see how it turns out. I mean, that's pretty much done, isn't it? That looks good. So the Viking has been saved. There's a decent little single speed there now, which has come together from various sources of parts. The saddle's obviously brand new. Seat post is one I had knocking around. This light keeps on changing. Wheel set is obviously off the Viking itself. New chain, new freewheel, new tyres. Brakes are again ones I had lying around. Had to go for a longer reach one on the rear so they're not matching. Forks and stem and headset are all off the same donor bike. Bars are off the Viking, and I've just stuck some Vineman alloy brake levers on there as well. Oh, and the crankset is pretty much new. It was originally on the folding bike that I did, but the cranks were too long for that, so that's just been sat in my cupboard for ages. So that's gone to a good home now, and you know, it's come together pretty well. I really love this finish now. Really love the raw finish of the frame. I'm hoping it's focused and exposed right, but yeah, it took some work doing, but the raw finish of the frame just brings out all the history of it. Even if it does look rusty to some, I mean, it is. Like, those rust spots have been years of use, and I remember when I first originally introduced the Viking, I said I wanted to preserve it because, I mean, it came from a guy who unfortunately died, but who rode this bike since new for like thousands and thousands of miles, and I wanted to kind of preserve it, and unfortunately I couldn't preserve it in the original form, but it's been remade into this, and it will live on for years more with that history showing. There's a lot of history on there. Now, I was obviously deciding via Instagram whether to do the head tube black as well, because I think the black 700C forks that I took off that donor bike work pretty damn well with it. It gives a nice little contrast. And that's just a Tektro caliper that I pulled off another donor bike for years and managed to refurbish it. The Schwab have to go Tamwell. They're just which model are they? Just basic model for 27-inch wheels. And I've polished up all the original wheel set, so it's looking glorious now. I'll tell you what, that bar tape was an absolute nightmare to work with. It's cotton, it's quite thick cotton. It's not like the what have you used before? I've used like the Velux one, but that's quite stretchy. This one was not stretchy at all, and it was a pain in the ass to do. It's wrinkled in places, but I have listened to comments previously and have removed the brake levers as I've wrapped, so it's got a more consistent wrap, and it works. Definitely works. I like the way the handlebars now match the seat, and in a kind of way match the sidewalls of the tyres. That's the original Viking bars on there as well, as I said, and I've just gone for some braided cables. But yeah, that bar tape was a nightmare to work with. Nightmare. The chain line here was also a little awkward to work out. Obviously I've got a freewheel on there. It's a freewheel, it's not a cassette driven back wheel, so it was pretty much fixed in that position. I could have adjusted it on the back wheel via re-spacing the hub and then redishing the wheel, but that's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work when I could have just done the front like I did. I worked it out about a 35mm chain line, which is really close, and I tried various axles in the front here, tried various axles in there just to try and get it in the right position, but ended up just taking off the chain ring from the outside, put it on the inside, and give or take a couple of mil, it's like pretty much a straight train line now. So that should be riding nice and smooth now. What I might actually do is get a bigger freewheel though, because that chain ring is a 46, got a 16 on the rear. It's alright for speed, but if you want to just be cruising around, it's probably not the best cruising ratio. So that might be one to change. And also those pedals, those are actually some really nice leotard pedals. I can't remember the exact model, but they go for quite a bit on eBay. But I need to get some cages for them, so I'll finish them off with some cages and some straps. Ultimately, I think that came out really nice. The sun is just all over the place at the moment, but yeah, I think that was a really nice result for this. I don't know what you think. Like, leave your comments down below as usual. As I said, there's just a couple more things I want to do. Make that change the freewheel for a bit of a bigger one, add some cages, clips as you call them, and straps to the pedals. And also, while I think about it, I just want to get a proper cable tidy, because I've just used a cable tie at the moment just to hold them together. But that is sparkling in this beautiful sun that we're having at the moment. It's sparkling.